Hey there, welcome back. Today we're going to have a riding lesson, and the subject matter is going to be about contact and impulsion, just like our last groundwork lesson. So I am here today with Kaylee and her cute little gypsy vanner Fergus, and we are going to show you some exercises that you can do so that both you and your horse can get a better feel for developing nice even contact in both reins so that we can get good balance. And also, we're going to show you some exercises that help your horse to go a little bit more forward and relax and bend a little bit so that they take that contact a little bit more naturally, and that you can even maybe adjust the length of their neck as we go. So if you're ready to get started, just hit that thumbs up button and we're going to get going. I'm going to send Kaylee out onto a 20-meter circle over by the V and P line. So she's going to start off by showing us a beautiful 20-meter circle. And as I mentioned in the last groundwork lesson, it's hard to get good contact without forward impulsion. Okay, so Kaylee does have to get Fergus moving along a little. The very first exercise that we did with a spree in the last groundwork exercise was to just practice some halt and feel the heaviness that comes into your reins when you halt. So actually, Kaylee, ride a small circle around me, and then as you're passing by the camera, you're going to ask Fergus for halt by just stopping yourself, your body, from moving forward with him. And we're all going to notice how Fergus kind of leans into her hand and puts a little bit more weight in her hand for that halt. So slowing down. See how he's leaning into the reins, and you kind of stretch the rein a little. Now Kaylee is going to keep that contact and ask Fergus to walk off so that she feels nice, equal weight on both sides. So first things first, we need to go for that forward into the reins so the horse gets equal weight. So you can see at some points in time that the rein, that Kaylee's rein does get a little bit of slack in it, okay? So she's gonna keep practicing that halt and walk off until she feels like she can keep the rein straight and that Fergus is really going forward and taking a hold of her hand and bringing her forward, and that she can keep her hands fairly quiet. And so that she gets that nice equal weight in both reins. You notice that Fergus just gets a little bit distracted looking back at the barn, but she can go back to her very basic lesson of opening that inside rein to tell me he has to remember to follow the rein and pay attention to Kaylee. So once you get the feeling from your walk to halt that you can get that little bit more heaviness, you can just take it to a little half halt instead. So instead of fully going all the way to halt, Kaylee's just going to slow her body down as she goes by the camera so he comes more into the contact, and then keep it and go more forward. As I mentioned in the groundwork class, that when your horse gives you that little bit of extra weight in your hands, you want to accept that as a gift. Don't give it back, keep it. As long as you're relaxed in your hands and soft in your arms and allowing your arm to follow the motion of the neck, you can keep that contact. You're not restricting them in any way. Again, it should feel like a parent taking a gentle hold of a child's hand and bringing them across the street. And notice as she goes around and around, when he keeps his attention, Fergus is starting to relax through his back, and he's got a nice swing in the back. He's nice and relaxed in his neck, and his neck is coming down right where we want it to be. So if Kaylee wanted a little bit of a rounder frame, she could shorten her reins. One hand helps the other to get the reins a little shorter and give Fergus just a little less space for his neck. She's going to ride him the exact same way. but with a little bit of less space, he's going to get a shorter, rounder frame. But she has to keep that hind leg really moving in order to keep that shorter, rounder frame and that swinging, relaxed back. You always want to remember that, as I mentioned before, we need impulsion, we need forward motion in order to truly get that feeling of contact. So those hind legs have to keep working. It's important to know and to remember that when the hind legs are pushing off the ground and working, you get the hind leg engaged, and in turn, their back muscles engage. So their back muscles are considered locomotion muscles. You want them to use that back, and once they are, their neck naturally lowers. Okay, so Kaylee is going to try to pick up trot, and we're going to ride a nice circle at trot and try to get Fergus, his body, to bend around the line of the circle. And what we're going to do to really show you this is she's going to get to the letter K here and ride a 10-meter circle, and Fergus has to bend his body around that 10-meter circle. She's going to keep that nice bending, relaxed horse and then go forward out to the bigger circle again, thinking about what that 10-meter circle helps her with, okay? She's going to go around and do it again, and we're going to see how when Fergus goes around the smaller circle and he has to bend a little bit more, his inside hind leg engages more. And when she gets that more engagement, more forward push, Fergus's neck starts to come down. And then she's going to push him back out to the bigger circle and see if she can keep the same posture on the bigger circle that she got by riding the smaller circle. So if your horse is just learning to go forward and move into the contact, you can repeat this exercise, over and over again until you feel like you can keep them in this nice working posture more consistently. Very good. Kaylee, ride one more smaller circle, reminding the horse that they need to follow the pressure of the rein. Hind legs have to go when you tell them to go. And because you've got Fergus working his body correctly, his back and his head and neck all come into the posture we want naturally, and there's no forcing. You notice that Kaylee's not seesawing the bit back and forth in Fergus's mouth. She's just riding him nicely forward from back to front so that his body works in that nice natural way and gives her the posture she's looking for. And she's got nice balance here. So let's have a walk and change direction. We'll have you do that again. And then we're going to bring Susanna and her pony Finn up here so we can take this exercise a little bit of a step further. So Fergus is being a very good boy and cooperating with us, but he is just a horse that is just learning to go like this more consistently. He's not very old. Kaylee's been doing a good job teaching him his basic walk, trot, canter. And now we want to make sure that he can go in a nice relaxed way all the time, so she can start working on his adjustability. So this time what I'm going to have Kaylee do is when we get over here towards the letter F, she's going to start to walk the 10-meter circle, and as she's turning that 10-meter circle, she's going to pick up her trot, and we're going to see if we can get Fergus to soften his body, take the shape of the small circle, and trot off without lifting his head up. A nice big trot off. Yes, and she kept a little bit of an opening rein. So he has to follow that and bend his body. And of course, we have to make sure those legs are working, those hind legs are working. None of it works if the hind legs aren't engaged. So we want to make sure Fergus's right hind leg is nicely engaged, turning that small circle again. As you notice, Fergus is going right, and we've been talking about this. Sometimes tracking right is the more difficult direction for the horses, so he's not coming as round as easily this direction, but you do notice that he is doing it. So Kaylee's just going to keep encouraging him forward. It's that forward motion that's really going to help you get that hind leg going so that he has to put a little bit of back muscle into this trot. And then that neck will follow, and she'll be able to get him a little bit more forward and through. And she's got nice heavy contact here. Good, and nice big push out to the bigger circle. Super job. So you're gonna go around another 10-meter circle at K, and as you're turning that circle, as long as Fergus feels relaxed in his body and neck, he's gonna sit into your walk and see if turning the circle helps you keep him relaxed and in the bridle. Good. All right, and Susanna can come up now. Good job, Fergus and Kaylee. So hopefully that was a good demonstration for you to show you that you can ride an exercise like that and get your horse to come nice and soft and round through their body by getting them to use their body naturally instead of forcing them into a frame by seesawing and pulling on the reins. So what we're going to do with Susanna and Finn, so we're just going to take that same exercise a little bit further. Now Finn is quite a bit different than Fergus. That's why I chose two different horses so that you can see different examples, different kinds of horses and different problems that some horses may have, but how this exercise is going to work for both, for many different issues really. So what Susanna is going to help us with is show us that we can use this exercise to get the horses to understand that they can stay soft and round through their body, through their neck, even when they're going from walk to trot and trot to canter. And so Kaylee showed us a little bit of that when she did her walk to trot transition and her trot to walk transition. So we're just going to start that over with Finn. Susanna's going to ride a small 10-meter circle and see if she can get Finn to relax in the walk. She's going to keep riding and turning and bending his body around the shape of the circle and then forward into trot and then out to the bigger circle. A lot of times what happens, and you'll see with Finn, is he sometimes has some ideas of his own about how things should go. So sometimes you'll see that he might try to grab onto the bit and look the other way. And Susanna just sits tight, keeps her body positioned where she wants to be positioned, and he just runs into the pressure. So go around your 10-meter circle again. So she's going to get him to follow that right rein, really reminding him the right answer is to follow the pressure of the rein, not go against it. And using that smaller circle to help her get him a little bit rounder, a little bit more relaxed. So you see that Finn doesn't relax as easily as Fergus. So Susanna can repeat this exercise as many times as she needs to until Finn gets a little bit more relaxed. So maybe let's try 20 meters on a rising trot and see if that helps him a little bit. Good. And then we'll just try another 10-meter circle on this direction. So one piece of advice that I got from a trainer that I used to work for was about when it came to contact. When you have a horse like Finn who has a tendency to want to do something maybe a little different than you do, if your horse takes on the rein, you want to take the rein a little bit more. So if Finn tries to pull his head over to the left, Susanna's going to close her fingers a little bit around that right rein and take on it a little bit more until he softens and gives. So Finn has to be the one to give, not Susanna. So if he takes, she's going to take, like right here. When he softens, she'll soften. But he needs to be the one to give that rein back to her. And now as you see it, she's going around and around, using the line of her circle to help get Finn's body bending in that direction. He's starting to relax a little bit more. And she could even offer him a little bit of a longer rein and see if she can maintain contact with maybe an inch or two longer of a rein, and try the small circle to a larger circle, giving him a little bit more space for his neck, but still feeling for that even connection on both sides. And of course, we can always revisit our speed control while you're doing this exercise, making sure that you can slow down and speed up. Good. And so now we'll start thinking about keeping Finn quiet and soft in the bridle as we do transitions. So as we're turning the smaller circle, yes, you're going to walk. Keep turning the horse back into trot. So if you are having trouble, see how Finn likes to put his head up like that? Susanna's going to come back to the smaller circle one more time and into walk. So think turn a little bit more as you're asking for walk. Now turn a little bit more as you're asking for trot. And I feel like that is a really great exercise. If you have a horse that every time you ask them to go up from walk to trot or from trot to canter, if they're picking their head up in that transition, try turning them onto a smaller circle line at the same time that you ask for the transition. So Susanna's going to turn onto the smaller circle here and walk all at the same time. So we have to be coordinated enough to ask for the turn and the transition at the same time. So that helps your horse stay a little bit more relaxed. Okay, so Finn wants to jump ahead to canter. We're just going to let him canter and relax again for a minute. And we'll add that in. But let's actually change direction. Sorry, we've got a little bit of distraction again here today, but we'll bring him back to trot by turning him to the smaller circle and going back to trot. See if we can't get Finn to relax. We'll do a little bit the other way to make sure that we're not overworking Finn to the right. Maybe be happier going left. We started the hard way. So go through the middle of your circle. When you come back to K, you're just going to turn onto that 10-meter circle and ask for that walk and see if you can keep Finn soft and relaxed. Yeah, he's distracted by what's happening back at the barn. Susanna's going to remind him that he needs to listen to her there and relax. When he relaxes, turn the smaller circle and bring him back to trot. Nice, and then turn the smaller circle into walk. And you can see how the turning action helps you get the horse's inside leg to stay engaged in the down transition so that it's hard for them to pop their head up, right? The idea is hind leg is active and engaged. You go forward into your up transition to trot. Oh, again, Finn thinks we should work on cantering. It's okay, she's gonna relax and let the horse canter a little bit. He decided to canter, so we'll let him canter. Trotting was probably easier. Now just relaxing, go to rising trot. We're just gonna let Finn do something a little bit easy so we can get his brain to calm down a little. Rising trot around the bigger circle. There. So it's a little bit happier. Then Susanna's going to try to balance that trot out a little bit and come to the smaller circle and back to walk. So just shortening her, posting, turn around the smaller circle and walk. So we're really turning and walking, yes, at the same time. Good. All right, we're going to let Finn just have a moment to stretch and to breathe because we did have somebody come in and upset him back at the barn, and he's being pretty good, but we want to let him have that nice stretch down. We've been talking about this throughout the series, that we want our horses' head and neck to stretch down so they have a moment to catch their breath and let their heart rates come down a little bit so that Finn, when we get back to work, hopefully can find his way to paying attention to Susanna and getting this work done, because we do need to show you your challenge for this lesson is going to be, once you feel like you've got a really good idea about how this exercise helps you not only find your contact and your impulsion, but then it helps you to keep that contact when you do your transitions up and down. And now we want to see if we can keep that contact when we make changes of direction, okay? So we're also going to use circles to help us with that. And I'm gonna let Susanna decide whether or not she wants to do change of direction through her 20-meter circle, or you can ride a big 20-meter figure 8. Whichever you think works better, or we could do a combination of both, okay? Both are really great ways to practice your change of direction without losing your contact, so that we keep that horse's back stretching, that head and neck nice and relaxed and low, that their nose stays pointed vertically to the ground, and that they're not always tightening their back and popping their head up whenever we're changing things, whether it be to transition up or down or a change of direction. Very good. So he looks like he's a little bit happier now, and Susanna is showing you nice changes of direction through walk, and how she's doing nice lateral bend from one side to the other, and getting the horse to bend his body at the same time that we're asking them to walk forward. Helps keep them relaxed. We want a relaxed horse. A bending horse is a relaxed horse. It's always a good mantra to keep in your head when you're feeling like you're riding a horse like Finn, who gets anxious pretty easily. Keep saying over and over again in your head, a bending horse is a relaxed horse. So go ahead and put him on a bending line and see if you can work the tension out that way. Good. So when you're riding a big figure 8, you want to think about 2 big 20-meter circles, and that you just ride from one circle to the other. And so here Susanna's going to go through the middle, so she bent right to turn down the middle, and now she's going to bend left to turn back onto her 20-meter circle. This is a good way to start working on your changes of direction if you have a horse like Finn who gets a little tight and tense. The smaller turns help you kind of keep them together a little bit more collected. It's a little harder for him to get running and taking over. So this is really nice. So now we're going to challenge Susanna to go to the big figure 8. So notice as she approaches the center line, she's going to start flexing the new direction and ride nicely forward onto the new circle. And we're going to watch her do that again. So here she's keeping him nicely bending on the line of the 20-meter circle left. When she gets to the last quarter of that circle, she's going to look up for her circle right and start to flex and bend him right now and go forward onto that new circle. So she's not going to wait until the new circles began to get the new bend. She's going to get it the last quarter. So again, she's going to change direction when she's on the last quarter of this circle and she's headed towards the center line. She's going to bend Finn to the left and find that circle left to go forward. So he keeps that neck down. You see, he keeps the neck down as she makes the change of direction because she's really focused on his inside hind leg staying active and engaged. Because the inside hind leg is active and engaged, he's engaging his back and using his back to move forward at the trot. And as a result, his neck naturally comes down. So she's going to use her right leg to get his body bending right rein. Okay, so now we're going to see if Susanna can give us a canter transition on purpose. Same thing. You're going to do your small 10-meter circle, and then as you're turning the smaller circle, you're going to canter out to your bigger circle. This is often the transition where people have the most trouble with the horse trying to flip their head up, is when they go from trot to canter or canter to trot. So she's going to get over to the other side, canter onto 10 meters, and then trot as she's turning the smaller circle. So turning and asking for trot all at the same time. Keep that inside hind leg active. Good. So if your horse is still more of a training level horse, you don't have to do 10 meters at canter. That's pretty tough. You can put it out maybe to a 15-meter circle, just a little bit smaller than 20 to make it a little bit easier for them. So Susanna's going to try that again. Turn right onto your small circle, and we're going to canter out of it. So we're thinking turning and asking for canter all at the same time. You see Finn got a little tight there and a little rushed, so that's okay. We're just going to go turn the 10-meter circle again, and as she's turning back, trot. And keeping that hind leg forward and engaged, good. Hey, come on over to the other side. We're just going to try one more time this way, and then we'll change direction. Trying to get Finn to relax and stretch his body. Just turning, and with the very gentlest of aids, asking him to pick up his right lead canter. Yeah, so he gets a little bit anxious about cantering. So this is a good exercise for Susanna to keep practicing with him until he feels like he doesn't need to be so quick about picking up the canter and tightening his whole body. But you notice that she can get him to relax as she's going along at the canter using this exercise. And then we're going to trot, just change direction through the middle of your big circle. And then Susanna would practice the same exercise this way. See if she can get him to stretch down a little bit like Kaylee did. She used the contact she got, and then maybe let it get an inch longer to see if she could encourage her horse to have a longer neck. If you get a longer neck and a longer back, they have a tendency to relax a little bit. And you see Finn gets easily distracted, but that's okay. Susanna's very quiet and calm up there. She's doing the right thing. She's just staying in her beautiful riding position. She's not changing. She's not letting him trick her into moving her position or her hands. She's just continuing on the same exercise so he knows to pay attention to her. Very good. And then we're going to turn 10 meters again here. And again, Finn is quite small. 10 meters isn't too tough for him to canter. If it's too tough for your horse to canter 10 meters, certainly just make the canter a little bit, the circle a little bit smaller than 20. And here you can walk. And normally, I'm going to tell Susanna to let Finn walk there because that actual down transition from canter to trot was very nice, and he didn't get so tight there. So in the spirit of what we've been talking about in every other lesson is if your horse gets the right answer, we don't want to keep drilling it and drilling it. We want to make sure that they understand if you get the answer right, then we're going to give you a little bit of rest, and so that they have more incentive to find that right answer more often and more consistently, okay? So I hope that this was helpful for you to see two different kinds of horses, two different temperaments do this exercise. I encourage you to try it at home so that you can start feeling a good sense of finding even balanced contact in your hands, how to engage your horse's hind legs. Those smaller circles really get that inside hind leg nicely engaged, and that when you want to work on transitioning from one gait to the next in order to keep your horse soft and on the bridle, that turning while you're doing a transition is really helpful, okay? So I hope this lesson was helpful to you, that you'll take that challenge to do the exercise and get those transitions done and get a better feel for it. Again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please hit that subscribe button. Head on over to my website and print off the notes for today's lesson. Head on over to the barn and have a great ride. Thanks for watching.